Hello everyone, today we are going to learn about simplest invertebrates. The presenters that will explain you about this topic is Adam, Aisyah, DINIE, FADHLIN and Tasha. We all are from group 1. There are 4 types of simplest invertebrates. Firstly, sponge. The second one is Cnidaria. Third, Hydra. And last but not least is Xenophora. The first invertebrate is sponge. When we talk about sponge, you will be thinking about SpongeBob. Sponge is the only animal lack of tissue. Sponge also only have a cellular level organization and have only a few cell types, and they lack the nerve and muscle cells. Sponge have only a few cell types and they lack the nerve and muscle cells. Sponge are aquatic, largely marine animals that vary greatly in size, shape, and colors. However, they all have a canal system of pores of varying complexity that allows water to move through their bodies. As you can see, the yellow cylindrical shaped coral-like is sponge. This is sponge anatomy. Sponge have pores, cell, central cavity, flagellums, amoebocytes, and osculum. The interior of the canals is lined with flagellated cells that resemble choanoflagellates. In a sponge, these cells are called cells or choanocytes. The beating of the flagella produces water currents, which flow through the pores into the central cavity and out through the osculum, the upper opening of the body. Even a simple sponge, only 10 cm tall, is estimated to filter as much as 100 liters of water each day. All of sponge cells are able to acquire the oxygen they need for cellular respiration by diffusion from this water.
Next is the characteristics of sponges. We have 4, which is sessile filter feeder, suspension feeder, have a skeleton and can reproduce. It is called a sessile filter feeder because sponges cannot move from one place to another, means it is immobile. It is also called a suspension feeder because it filters suspended particles in the water by the flagella and the pores. The microscopic food particles are then digested into the food vacuoles. Sponges have skeletons that helps provide structural support. Spongin is a fibrous substance that is found in the skeleton of the sponges, and it is a modified form of collagen. All sponges contain tough fibers that is made from spongin. The endoskeleton of a sponge contains needle-shaped structures called spicules. These spicules are used to classify sponges whether they are bony, glassy, or spongin sponges. And these spicules are the reason why sponges have less predators, because a mouthful of spicules is an unpleasant experience. Sponges can reproduce both asexually and sexually. Sponges reproduce asexually by budding or fragmentation, which is when a small protuberance appears and gradually increases in size until an organism forms. By budding, large colonies of sponges are developed. Sponges reproduce sexually when sperm cells are entered into the central cavity, and the zygote is developed into a flagellated larva, and the larva is brought by the water current to another place, which then grows into an adult sponge. That is all from me. Thank you.
Cnidarians. What are cnidarians? Cnidarians are tubular or bell-shaped animals that reside mainly in shallow coastal waters. The term cnidaria is derived from the presence of cnidocytes. Each cnidocyte contains nematocyst that contains a long spirally coiled hollow thread. When triggered, the nematocyst is discharged and the thread is released. This coiled thread is used to immobilize prey or scare away predators. There are two basic body forms among cnidarians, polyp and medusa. The figure shows their basic body forms. Polyp has a mouth that is directed upwards, while medusa has a mouth that is directed downwards. Their body is a two-layered sac. The outer layer is derived from ectoderm, while the inner layer is derived from endoderm. The two layers is separated by mesoglia. The inner layer secretes digestive juices into gastrovascular cavity. The functions is to digest food and circulate nutrients. It also serves as hydrostatic skeleton. The general life cycle of cnidarians. Adult medusa release their gametes into surrounding water when they are ready to mate. The eggs is fertilized by sperm and turn into larvae. Once the larva reach certain stage, it will attach to substrate and become polyp. Over the time, polyps segment itself and each segment is a separate organism. The segments break apart and become young medusa. The young medusa grows into adult medusa and the cycle repeats. Cnidarians diversity. These are some examples of cnidarians: sea anemones, corals, hydra, Portuguese man of war, and jellyfish. Sea anemones. They are sessile polyps. They live attached to submerged rocks. Their size ranges from 0.5 to 20 cm in length and 0.5 to 10 cm in diameter. They are colorful animals. They are squishy and filled with water in contrast to corals. Their upward turned oral disc contains the mouth containing nematocysts. Corals. They are encased in calcium carbonate house. They extend out of their house to feed on microorganisms and retreat into their house for safety. The slow accumulation of limestone created coral reefs. Examples are the Great Barrier Reef and the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef. Portuguese man of war. It is hydrozoan and a colony polyps. The original polyp becomes a gas-filled float that provides buoyancy to keep the colony floating. Other polyps are specialized for feeding or reproduction. It has a long, single tentacle arm with numerous nematocysts arises from the base of each feeding polyp. The tentacles can give a painful and serious injuries to people who came in contact with it. The last one is true jellyfish. They are also known as sea jellies. Medusa is their primary stage and the polyp remains small. They are a type of zooplankton. They depend on tides and currents to move. They feed on a variety of invertebrates and fishes. They are also food themselves to other bigger marine animals.
An example of a typical cnidarian is a hydra. Hydras are often studied as an example of a cnidarian. Hydras are likely to be found attached to underwater plants or rocks in most lakes and rivers. So a hydra only have one opening that acts as both the mouth and anus, located in a raised area surrounded by 6 to 4 tentacles. This is the anatomy of a hydra. The body of a hydra is a small tubular polyp. The cells of the epidermis are termed epitheliomuscular cells because they contain muscle fibers. Also present in the epidermis are nemocysts containing cnidocytes and sensory cells that make contact with the nerve cells. These are all within a nerve net. These interconnected nerve cells allow the transmission of impulses in several directions at once. The body of a hydra can contract or extend, and the tentacles that ring the mouth can reach out and grasp prey and discharge nematocysts. Hydras reproduce asexually by forming buds, small outgrowth that develops into a complete animal and then detach. The interstitial cells of epidermis are capable of becoming other type of cell, such as an embryo or testis. When hydras reproduce sexually, the sperm from the testis swims to an egg within the ovary. Then, the embryo form is encased within a hard protective shell that allows it to survive until the conditions are optimal. for it to emerge and develop into a new polyp. Like sponges, cnidarians have very regenerative power, and hydras are able to form an entire organism from a small piece.
Ctenophores or comb jellies are small jellyfish-like creatures about the size of a grape. We often confuse comb jelly as jellyfish because both are transparent creatures. However, comb jellies are a bit more complex. The comb jelly that we will study in this video is known as Pleurobrachia pileus. These comb jellies are solitary, mostly free-swimming marine invertebrates that are usually found in warm waters. Some of the characteristics of these ctenophora is that their body is made up of transparent jelly-like substance called mesogelia. They have 2 tentacles that are sticky but not stinging. They swim by beating its tiny paddles called cilia and range in size from a few centimeters to 1.5 meters length. Some ctenophores are bioluminescent, meaning they are capable of producing their own light. The light that bouncing off the cilia will create rainbow patterns to its body. Comb jelly displays a host of behaviors, but a lot of times, their behaviors are related to feeding. Since most of ctenophores do not have stinging cells, so they capture their prey by using adhesive cells called coloblasts that make their tentacles are able in creating an elaborate sticky web. When a tiny shrimp or any prey gets caught on their tentacles, they must spin their whole body around until the tentacles ended up in their mouth so that the food can be gobbled up. Other behavior related to this comb jelly is that sometimes they decide to be swimming up, sometimes they decide to be swimming down, other times they will have their tentacles completely inside their body, and sometimes they just partially extract. Traditionally, ctenophores were placed as a group with the cnidarians on the animal's phylogenetic tree that involved of the sponges. However, recent studies suggest that ctenophores contain DNA sequences that are more ancient than those sponges. Therefore, many debates still exist around their placement because the DNA evidence of these ctenophores are still uncertain.